After a long search, UCLA has finally found their head coach. Bob Chesney, according to Pete Nakos of On3, is the new UCLA head man. The Bruins have made the right choice.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each day. It's free wherever it's your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Welcome back, everybody. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege, $20 off your first purchase. Every dayers, the Bruins have finally done it. Pete Nakos has reported. I've seen Bruin report online also, somewhat confirm it as well. UCLA is expecting to hire Bob Chesney, a 48-year-old head coach from James Madison. He just coached his James Madison Dukes to the Sun Belt Championship game, undefeated in conference, 11-1 this year. And for all the talk of UCLA trying to find the Curt Cignetti, whether it was somebody who built his way up in the ranks, somebody who's been a winner at every place, did he have to be arrogant and brash? Did he just have to win at James Madison like Curt Cignetti did? Well, UCLA has gotten a proven winner at every step of the game. Somebody who literally did the same thing as Curt Cignetti and bring James Madison to continued success. Not just drop the ball, but continued success from making the leap up from Holy Cross. And when Bob Chesney was at Holy Cross, he also had success. So from D3, D2, to the FCS, to the FBS, a 2QB system. Everything has been successful for Chesney. And if you want a program builder, this is the guy. Somebody who can bring in energy, but also not trying to be too flashy with no substance. This is the right guy that can come in and just lead to success. Because we've had too many coaches come in here and say, we've got a lot going on, and nothing goes on, other than maybe Jim Mora. Then you had Chip Kelly, who came in here and did nothing in terms of vocal. Then you had Deshaun Foster, who was fumbling through his first couple of words of Big Ten media days and did okay recruiting, but in the end, it really came down burning and crashing down hard. But Bob Chesney comes in here 20-5 in his 2 years at James Madison. They're in the Sun Belt title game. And if the Dukes do make the CFP because of the ACC craziness, Chesney is potentially expected to coach James Madison through the CFP. So there is some good and bad news here. UCLA has got the right guy, considering early signing day is pretty much upon us. UCLA can't exactly rebuild their early signing day class, but maybe they can go back on the later signing day, hit the portal hard. And for what UCLA needs is, are we rooting against James Madison? Because the earlier James Madison loses, then you get Bob Chesney over to UCLA. Either way, you got a young head coach who, as much as has been leaping and growing through the system, I would like to believe this is a guy who can come stay. I've seen from Football Scoop just the other day that UCLA was willing to give him about a $6 to $7 million deal, but it's already been informed that he has informed his players he is going to take the UCLA job. 44-21 at Holy Cross. Holy Cross didn't really win before Chesney was there. 44-16 at Assumption College. All right. This is a guy that at colleges you've never even heard of, at levels you've never even watched of college football, has taken dumpster fires and turned them into winners. And while James Madison wasn't exactly in that case when Curt Cignetti left, Cignetti took a lot of good players to Indiana and led them to the CFP. Well, they didn't drop the ball when Chesney came in. They kept succeeding. And with the portal, yes, you can have success one year, but you can really drop and tank the next year. Chesney didn't let that happen over the last 2 years. So this is huge for UCLA, considering one, there's the Lane Kiffin fallout. There's a bunch of other coaches. Michigan State literally fired and is basically hiring a coach in the same day. Kentucky's firing a coach, apparently rumored to get Chip Kelly. Who knows? But with everybody making their move, Cal leaning in on an Oregon coordinator, everybody up and down the coast making different coaching switches or flirting with other jobs, UCLA has had their opening the longest alongside Virginia Tech. Well, Virginia Tech swung big with James Franklin. UCLA is, in their mind, swinging big with the right guy. Not for a big name, no substance guy. Not for some, all right, flash in the pan, somebody from the group of five that could be maybe something. Sean Lewis, not saying that he's not successful, might be a year or two away from making the leap from San Diego State, or a return to glory guy like Dan Mullen trying to work his way back to the ranks. Jason Eck might be a year or two away, but Chesney is the guy that comes in at the right time. He's done enough at the D1 level, both FCS, group of five, to arguably have the best group of five team out there. If you're battling between the two lanes, the James Madisons of the world, if things break his way, James Madison could find themselves in a playoff spot, and that's after their head man just left 2 years ago. That is how good Chesney is. Now, can he bring East Coast recruiting to the West Coast and establish a firm foundation on, hey, we can go national recruiting? UCLA already showcased, before Deshaun Foster was fired, the ability to go into Massachusetts, to go into Florida, find some talent in Texas, because there's plenty over in that region on the eastern side, the middle part of the state, the South, and then just hold serve in recruiting on the West Coast in Southern California, and all of a sudden, UCLA can be a contender in recruiting again. And if you listen to a quote I've seen Bob Chesney put out there about Bob Chesney, when coaches come through, he's like, give me two things you liked about our practice, two things we need to improve upon. Always tinkering in the right ways, always wanting to improve. And it seems like he's just the right fit for a UCLA athletic department that could be in shambles, for a coaching search committee that was put in, and all of a sudden, UCLA gets the job done. Now, the interesting question is, who is Chesney going to answer to, right? Is this a guy that's going to answer to Martin Jarmont? Is he going to answer to Julio Frank? Is it like, Martin might be the guy he's talking to for now, but Frank pulled the final string and said yes? These are all intriguing stuff, or intriguing parts, because Bob Myers, who was a part of this coaching search committee on the UC Regents, put together this whole thing of, hey, we need to pay a guy big money. So when Chesney was potentially looking at other spots, as he should, UCLA had a good enough compensation package to bring him to UCLA, which is certainly a lot better than James Madison, even if UCLA lowballed him. But to bring him here and showcase they have the commitment and the wherewithal to bring UCLA football back to prominence wherever they play, they went in the right direction. Absolutely in the right direction. Innovative with what they're doing offensively, continued success regardless of the level, and from what I heard, they wanted a winner. UCLA has their winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. As embarrassing as that 2025 season was, UCLA had their 2 years, let's make it just a blip on the radar, and they finally came through. Think about Michigan State, that same cycle that UCLA had an opening, and they're already changing head coaches because Jonathan Smith didn't work out. Tony White, who was potentially available, might be the scapegoat at Florida State, considering Mike Norvell almost lost his job again at Florida State as the defensive coordinator he was a guy in. And UCLA weeded through all of it. They let things play out. Didn't get crazy in a Lane Kiffin flirtation or something similar on the West Coast, which would have been Jed Fish, the West Coast equivalent of Lane Kiffin, right? That's what Jed Fish would have represented to UCLA, whether he's trying to get more money at Washington or he thought about leaving to UCLA. Either way, UCLA is putting themselves in the right direction. The right direction, finally. Some good news. The only thing is, if James Madison loses, the sooner it happens, the quicker UCLA can get on the ground running immediately. All right? They can absolutely do this. The real questions are, how much is UCLA going to figure out this NIL situation, considering Bruins for Life was in shambles? Where will UCLA play? How much support are they going to give Chesney to retain assistants, go get new assistants? Those are all fascinating questions. But for now, the expectation, according to Pete Nakos, who got the story first, was that UCLA has their man in Chesney. It's been rumored, it's been building, and now it's all said and done. UCLA is getting their main man. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Forget the embarrassment. Let's get ready to rock and roll. All right. I'm not talking about any monopoly right now. I'm not going to make some big, crazy quotes. UCLA is just going to be firm, brick by brick by brick. They're just going to foundation all the way up. And I think UCLA is, I'm excited. All right. It's not as exciting as LSU is, or as hateful as Ole Miss might be, or what Jed Fish could be. This dude's a winner. And he's going to win. Whether it's 5 years, whether it's 10 years, he will bring UCLA and a winning formula that's succeeded at every stop he's had to lead the Bruins into the next level, into the NIL age. Welcome to the Big Ten, just 2 years late. That's where the Bruins will be. Not going to say they're going to go out and do something crazy next year, but there will be sustained success and immediate changes implemented to the Bruins workout regimen, to just their discipline. Everything together will work. That's just my assumption. That's my opinion for UCLA. Well, the World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops real time and get alerts with great seats open. Buy tickets the moment they hit the app, puts the power back into your hands, and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Pick a game, tap a section, have your tickets locked within minutes. No confusing, no hunting for fine print. The Seat View feature is a game changer. You see what the pitch looks like from your seat before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets, every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. I'm excited. You're excited. We're going to have more episodes talking UCLA football and their new hire, their new coach. Hands up. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.